from the BBC World Service in association with ABC and All India Radio. This is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London. I've had a trip up to the Midlands this week, doing a little bit of filming ahead of the Ashes. And since we last spoke, I've also had an very early Christmas dinner with the family because, of course, I'll be in Australia at Christmas time. So we had bad Christmas cracker jokes and everything. But before I fly out, there's a bit of radio commentary to be done on the men's T20 World Cup as well. So plenty to keep me out of mischief.
Jim Maxwell in Sydney Alley. Yes, well, you're about to jump on a plane. Well, you know what I did today? For the first time in 5 months, I jumped in a car and I went over the Harbour Bridge.
Wow.
I have not been beyond my local government area for all that time. We're out of lockdown. This freedom is outrageous. And hopefully by the Ashes start, I'll even allow people to go and watch it.
I'm Sunil Gupta for All India Radio in New Delhi, where I can tell you the one and only thing on the minds of 1/5 of humanity is the big game in the T20 World Cup on Sunday. And if ever the adage that paucity raises the pitch, raises hopes and raises expectations, and the stakes to come is to come to life, well, then Sunday is the day it's going to happen. Just an example, Inzamam ul Haq said today, I read, that this is the final before the final. So I'm sure you will understand exactly what I mean.
No pressure. Of course, you're talking about India versus Pakistan in the men's T20 World Cup. Jim, congratulations on the freedom. I mean, contain yourself, but we're glad that you've sat back and stayed in, especially for us to record Stumped when you could be out and about enjoying your freedom. Let me give you one bad cracker joke to start with because it was too good to let go. Why do bakers work so hard?
Go on.
Because they need the dough. It was a good one. It was a bad one. Anyway, and I want to start this week with the very strong rumours coming out of India, Sunil, that Rahul Dravid is going to be the next coach of the men's national side and he'll replace Ravi Shastri at the end of the T20 World Cup. What is the latest on this? And do you think he's the right man to take over?
Oh, I think it's a done deal. I mean, it's just the formalities to be gone through, which is that he's actually got to put in an application and all the rest of it. But it's a done deal. I mean, it's done. And if you're asking me if he's the right man, absolutely. No question that he's the right person in the right place at the right time, and that does not always happen. The two things that sum up Rahul Dravid to me is that in the Junior World Cup in, I think, New Zealand 2019, he actually said that everyone in the squad would get a game, and everyone got a game. That's the type of person he is. And then, finally, I mean, the top of it all, he gave up the captaincy of the Indian Test team and remained just a player. And let me tell you, it does not happen. It just does not happen. Certainly not in my lifetime. So that, if nothing else, sums up Rahul Dravid. It's always self-esteem before me.
My experience of Rahul Dravid is that he is indeed a man of great humility. And that came across even when he joined us for some radio commentary at the 2011 World Cup throughout India. I remember just a small example, the great man that he is, India's best number 3 former captain. Before we'd even had a chance to ask if he wants a cup of tea, he's asking all of us if he can go and get us tea. So, little things like that. He's just a good human. Jim, I mean, I saw Michael Vaughan, the former England captain, tweet that if the rumours are indeed true and Dravid will become coach, then he said, the rest of the world better beware. Again, just a mark of, I guess, how highly regarded he is.
Yes, he's one of the most respected people in the world of cricket. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I mean, India are already a juggernaut under Virat Kohli, even the Shastri. Yes, the mentorship will be important, but it's just the fact that India are now producing a depth and quality of players that we're going to see an Indian team that'll be very hard to beat in all forms of the game from here on. And Dravid will just be the moulding, mentoring force around it. So, everyone beware. India have been on the rise. They haven't hit the top yet, but I think they're just going to get stronger and more successful.
Sunil, how do you look back then on Ravi Shastri's tenure as coach? There have been some significant wins along the way. What will his legacy be?
Well, I think he and Kohli bonded very well, a bit too well, if you know what I mean. They were not chalk and cheese, they were cheese and cheese, like Stilton and Roquefort, that type of thing. They're both sharp, and both their own men. I think, to call it an expression, Jim will like this, I think what Shastri brought to the Indian team was the Australian touch. In your face, all-out aggression. And he had Virat Kohli as his point man to do that. And both of them really formed that excellent bond that really made India come out of its shell. India was always seen as being a sort of, if not meek, but certainly, not in your face, not aggressive. And I think that was a very important step that he took. And he was the man behind that four-man pace attack, which today I think is one of the best in the world, especially in Test cricket. So, and he's won now in Australia and finally in England. But there will be a couple of things I think that he will think back on, and we shall see. But no, I think that he was good for the team in the time that he was there. He bonded well, as I said, with Kohli, and he was respected. He was looked after, and I have no doubt that he will do even better when he finishes as the coach and goes back to his commentary or whatever else he plans to do.
Yeah, there was a time, I think it was 2013, when India were touring England. And so a sort of younger version of Virat Kohli. But I sat in the bar of the hotel with Ravi and a number of the players after a one-day international. And the way they looked on Ravi almost as this fatherly figure, but one who they could talk to about anything. They really spoke about how he broke down those barriers and they felt very comfortable with him in that role. So that speaks volumes as well. Now, we spoke last week on the podcast about India being amongst the favourites to win the T20 World Cup. How much pressure on the side, I guess, especially with it being Shastri's last tournament as well, but more so, as you mentioned, the enormous scale of the opening match that they face?
Well, I think both Kohli and he are feeling the same pain and pressure. They haven't won an ICC event between them. I think that is going to rankle. And of course, Kohli's captaincy swan song in the IPL didn't go too well. He's now going to give up the T20 captaincy, and there's a word about that he's going to give up the ODI captaincy as well to Rohit Sharma. So Rahul Dravid actually is going to have two captains. Ravi Shastri had one for all three formats. Rahul Dravid is going to be working with two, so I think that's going to be another aspect of it. But certainly, I think both Kohli and Shastri, certainly Shastri, would be very keen to fill up this blank in their CVs, because, as I said, no ICC event, the World Cup, the previous T20, the ICC World Test Championship didn't go according to plan. India were favourites in the World Cup in England in 2019. So I'm saying there are so many things that I think they want to put an end to. And of course, Sunday will really be, I think, the way that they will sound the trumpets as well on what they will want to be their victory charge in the World Cup T20.
Now, this is going off at a slight tangent, but I actually just want to highlight an interview that I noticed during the week. It caught my eye with all-rounder Hardik Pandya. He was speaking about money. He says when a guy from a village or a small town gets a big contract, he doesn't keep it for himself. He's looking after his parents. He's looking after his relatives. Money makes the difference and it gives motivation as well, he says. Money does make the world go round, doesn't it? Are we shy about talking about it? Clearly it does impact cricketing decisions that players are making, franchise versus country. And this has been something which has been bubbling away and not necessarily even in the background for a number of years.
That's the big thing about money. It brings freedom. So you don't have to worry about any of these issues around where you're going to live, how you're going to pay for what you put on your back or in your mouth and so on. It's probably true to say most of the cricketers who get established, certainly in Australia, have come from backgrounds where there isn't a problem. They don't come from very poor backgrounds. They probably wouldn't have ever played cricket had they come from poor backgrounds. I'm not sure in Sinha's situation how many people from desperately poor backgrounds, and there'll be plenty of them in India, managed to rise to any kind of fame and reward in cricket. I think the socio-economic situation's probably a bit different in India to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think money is absolutely critical, especially in the Indian context. There are so many cricketers. Hardik Pandya himself. You remember T. Natarajan, who played in the fourth Test match in Australia. His mother used to cook for people in a tin shack. I mean, it is as bad as that. So I think that money is absolutely critical. And I think the IPL has played a huge role in emancipating these youngsters, because otherwise they wouldn't really have had, as Jim said, freedom. And who wants to be under the yoke all the time of poverty, or living, about where my next meal is coming from and like that? Parents, as you know, in terms of the Indian society, parents are extremely important. I mean, by and large, people live with their parents. The parents live with their children, and therefore, it is the duty of the youngsters when they grow up and start earning to take care of their parents. So I think what Hardik Pandya said is absolutely right. The question is, at what level should it be pegged? I mean, sometimes when you get something too early, too much too early, and we've seen people burn out because they get the money, they don't know how to handle it. I think that's got to be something that people need to think about. And certainly other sports suffer when cricket is giving out so much money. That is the other thing in India. Perhaps it's not in England, certainly with the EPL and other sports. In Australia, of course, so much sport going on. But in India, other sports suffer. And I think that's another thing that we need to keep in mind in the Indian situation.
A well-known 1994 chocolate brand advert in India, which became iconic. Now, why are we featuring it on Stumped? Well, the advert featured a woman sitting on the sidelines of a cricket match, watching her male friend score a winning boundary and then running onto the field and dancing with delight. The actors became famous and the music became absolutely iconic in India. But fast forward to 2021, and the advert has been reimagined by swapping the gender roles and ending with a powerful message of hashtag Good Luck Girls as a tribute to women athletes. Now, Chennai-based educator, swimmer and actor Kavya Ramachandran plays the female cricketer in the 2021 version, and she is with us now. Kavya, great to have you on. How did it feel to take on that role as cricketer in the advert?
I think there was a lot more emotions post when the advert came out. I felt a lot more then, as opposed to when I was shooting for it, because this is what I say always. I did not realize the impact that the ad in 94 created, because that was the year I was born and I hadn't seen the ad. I remember vaguely the jingle, but I had no idea the stir that the ad had created back then. So right now, I just feel super grateful that I could play a small part on a production like this.
So I've very broadly described the advert. Describe it in more detail, how it plays out.
So I'm sure you've all seen the original. It's a super cute dance number that Shimona does, and which is unmatched. And I thought it was really refreshing when they asked me to send the audition. I thought it was really refreshing, the gender swap, because sport is something that's super close to my heart, and women getting cheered on in the field of sport is even closer. And the fact that I got to play the cricketer was the biggest highlight in my life. And so many emotions going through right now, actually, this very instant I'm talking to you all. What do I say? I realized the impact of the ad only when I went on set, because everyone was saying, Kavya, we're not trying to recreate the same thing. You can't do that because that's a classic. It's treated as an ode to honor the classic. And I thought that was important, because the pressure to recreate something that was as big as that would have been too much if we are trying to, one-up it, because that was never the intention.
Were you a cricket fan? Are you a cricket fan? And the other vital question is, how many takes did it take for the hook shot to be perfect?
My feelings towards cricket it's very neutral. I come from a family who are crazy about cricket. My mom and dad always support two different teams. So there's always an argument at home. But I watch it with them, but I'm not a crazy cricket fan. The next part of the question was
How many takes
did it take? Yeah, how many takes? Very many takes. I think there was only one shot that I got right, and that's the one shot that they have on camera.
And do you yourself, Kavi, sort of feel quite strongly about challenging gender norms, those sort of traditional male-female roles in society and in Indian society in particular?
Of course, I feel very strongly because I do come from a sport background. I'm a swimmer myself. So not my immediate family, but there are a lot of people who aren't very supportive of girl in, pursuing sport. And when I used to swim competitively, there used to be a lot of people who would come up to my parents and say, why are you sending her for sport? She's going to become masculine and manly and she's going to tan and all of that, which is unnecessary because they don't see what goes behind it or the accolades that come with it or the struggle that comes with it. So, especially because of that experience in my life, I do feel very, very strongly about gender norms and breaking the stereotypes. And so to answer your question, yes, it's very, very strong, yes.
Thank you so much, Kavi, for sharing your side of the story with us on Stumped. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that is it for this week's Stumped here on All India Radio. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport. Make sure you use the hashtag BBC Stumped. My thanks to Sunil Gupta and Jim Maxwell. And of course, to you all for listening. We'll speak to you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.